Hey, what's happening, Miles?
Hey, Brian.
I don't know if you know this, but since your PlayStation account is connected to your Discord account, as I'm getting ready to start the show and waiting, starting the call with you, I always check in, see what you're playing.
We don't have to.
Seeing what
We
you're
don't
playing.
have to talk about this.
And
We don't have to.
are you still playing Across the Valley?
Yeah, I might be.
How many hours have you put into this thing?
I've put a lot, but I just go in I go in and do a day, and then that's it, and then I put it down and come back and then check to make sure the animals are still alive the next day. Okay. I'm just a responsible farmer.
Yeah. Do they die? I feel like I might have killed one on accident.
That is actually a question I really want to know about the game, but I don't want to find out on my own game. Like, do they just get really sad? I don't know if they just get really sad and that's it. I assume they don't die. I don't know. I feel like it's not that kind of game, but then
yeah.
I don't know. Does anyone in the chat know?
I had a baby pig, but I realized after I got the pig that I didn't have any potatoes to feed him with. And so I had to wait a couple days to get potatoes or get potato seeds and then plant them. So that poor little piglet was just hanging out for like a week and a half.
Yeah.
No
Maybe
food.
it just doesn't grow up.
No food.
Maybe it just stays small.
Maybe
they shrink.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, that's how humans work. So I'm assuming that's probably how it would work in the game too.
But the game is taking a lot longer now because, oh my God, Brian, the amount of poop. I don't understand how they poop. It's just circles of poop, just like massive all around you in each part of the thing. It's pretty disturbing stuff.
There ain't no shovel big enough.
And that's it. That's how I like to relax. Shoveling virtual animal excrement.
Emily Baxter, the Cartoony Witch Game Kid in chat says, kill all of the cartoony animals. And with that, I say we start the show. Man, one of these days we're going to start the show without gray boxes everywhere. There we go. This is PSVR GAMESCAST Live, where we film live every single Monday, West Day, and 2 Wise Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live for your viewing pleasure. 6 p.m. Eastern, YouTube. If you don't like that, get it. You can go listen to us on podcast services of your choice. Thanks to our good friend Jay Meow, who uploads these things every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you. And of course, thank you to our good friend Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, who makes life easier for anybody watching the show. Timestamps. Dude's amazing. And actually, he's really funny too. Sometimes I just copy and paste the timestamps into the description and don't have a chance to read them. Whenever I stop and actually read them, there's always some really funny joke.
That's awesome.
Man, my name is Brian Pop on this channel right here, PSVR without Parole. And this gentleman over here to my left, your right. I think that's. Oh, hey.
Oh, he's high-fiving you. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, it's me being a cat climbing a wall. I don't know. Something like that.
I thought we were just having a slap fight.
Oh, maybe that.
It's Myles Dyer from youtube.com/Myles.
What up, Brian? What up, Game Cats? Hope you are all doing good. Just going to give a disclaimer. I am really low energy today, but I know I always feel better after looking in the chat and seeing all the love and positivity. So it is good to be here. And the reason why I'm low energy, nothing to be alarmed about. It's just been a long work week. We had an event that required me to not work from home and actually at an event where we all met up because I work remotely. And I don't know about people in the chat who works remote jobs, but it's obviously a very big thing now post-pandemic. And when you work at home a lot and then you spend a few days with loads and loads of people in person, it's quite a big shift. And but there were lots of conversations about VR. A lot of gamers saying, I've been watching the VR stuff and which headset should I get? And I always find it an interesting conversation because I always just say I would highly recommend PSVR2, but when they haven't got a PS5, it is a bit of a double jump. And I am curious to see what the Quest 3 is going to be like. I still think PSVR2 is going to be great, but we don't know yet. But I don't know. Do you feel it's an easy recommendation for PSVR2, Brian, as the main host of PSVR2 without Parole?
Yeah,
do you think
it's a financial question, right? It's what kind of gaming do you want to get into? Because I don't know if I just say, hey, buy a PlayStation 5 so that you can play PlayStation VR 2. especially if like they're unfamiliar with VR, if they just want to kind of dip their toes in, and they can get a $300 Quest 2. Like that saves them from spending $1,000. And if they really like the Quest 2, then they can start like investigating, like, is the PlayStation for me?
Yeah. But it is interesting speaking to people that aren't like, someone I spoke to has a PS5, and the thing he brought up was wireless, the Quest 3. That's what appeals to him. Yep. And obviously I made the case saying, but then you're trading off fidelity and other things. And as someone who was very concerned going to PSVR2, I barely notice it. And I do a lot of games that require a lot of physical activity.
Yeah.
And the main point is, because you don't need a camera, which is normally mounted on the TV, you can turn your back to the PS5, so the cable's just going that way. And, so there are ways of getting around it. But it is still interesting, all these months later, speaking to people that are now considering VR, and some of the questions and debates we had all that time ago are still bubbling up. But
yeah. I mean, I've definitely not been a graphics whore my whole life. I've usually just been like, more about like what's the game capable of and blah blah blah, whatever. But I do think that we haven't gotten quite to that point where like graphics are good enough in VR, and so like don't worry because everything's fine. Like people are like, well, which one's more powerful, the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5? And it's like, well, it doesn't really matter, because flat screen gaming has gotten to the point where it's like it's fine. Like no matter what you get, something's a little more powerful than the other. But the difference between PSVR2 running on PlayStation 5 and a Quest 2 running on its own is night and day. So it's I don't know. I would be worried that people would get scared off by the Quest just because they're like, oh, this is where VR is at right now. Like,
right.
Be like, no, check this out too. Right. If anybody's that interested, like have them come over to your place and have them check them both out,
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about it was that the other sort of point of query is regarding like what games there are. And one of them who has a PS5, he did play a lot of PSVR and he was like super hot. Like, is that not on PSVR 2? Why not? And I said, as someone who loved that game, I'm not missing it. Like, if it came to PSVR 2, absolutely would love it. But there's just so many other great games out there. And they said that they have been impressed by what Capcom's doing with Resident Evil, excited for Resident Evil 4. And, as we keep making the argument, we need more of these hybrid games, because that's the stuff that piques the interest of people that aren't familiar with VR gaming, and therefore like the niche titles. There's lots of great small titles out there, but it's the big names that are going to really bring people on board.
Agreed. We're going to get the show rolling a little bit right here, Myles. We got Not Sure Brondo in the chat with the $5 tip, says, we need a VR game where Oppenheimer nukes every Barbie dream house ever created with her and Ken in it. A lot of animosity for the new Barbie movie, but there's also a lot of love for it. The fucking thing's blowing up. One of the highest, most viewed movies in a long time, a lot of places.
Right.
So yeah, hey, whatever the fuck blows your hair back, man. That I don't ever interfere. If somebody likes something, that's just more happier for them that they found something that they like. I'll tell you that Power Rangers movie that came out a few years back, I went to see it ironically, and I ended up having a blast. So I mean, like,
that's awesome.
Shit can be really good, like unexpectedly. Jay Meow, member for 4 months in the chat, says it says level 3 membership. Chat, it says, do you prefer realistic graphics in VR like RE8 and Gran Turismo 7, or cool graphics in VR like Tetris Effect, Runner, and Synapse? I'm going to change your question, Jay, because I think you left out cool graphics would be Fract for me. Like, I think Fract has one of the most stunning art styles I've seen in VR yet. But I'll still take RE8 and GT7. I'll take realism any day, in VR at least.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, without delving into this question too much, I mean, like, I do love the realism, but VR is not just about experiencing realistic environments. I know you're not making this argument, Brian, but sometimes when you experience a black and white landscape in Synapse with the colors and, Fract, or even Tetris Effect or Res Infinite, sometimes it's just like, this world wouldn't make sense to me in real life, but I'm in this moment and it feels awesome. Yeah, I think I do, but I think realism, when you're in those things and you feel like I'm really at that place, it's something else.
Yeah, I mean, variety is the spice of life, man. Like if everything looked the same, if everything looked photorealistic, it would get boring really fast, I think. I just don't want that. I love when somebody brings a distinct art style into VR or just anything that looks cool, just to separate itself. And I like that, man. Like like I've said before, I view video games as art, and whatever art style you choose, whether it be photorealism or something a little bit more fantastical, I appreciate it all.
And that's why we live in exciting times with VR, which is we're not at a point where it's just a load of big hitters that keep churning out the same games every year, like the Call of Duties, which wouldn't be a bad thing. And we rely on just indie developers for doing the innovation. We're at a point where just everyone seems to be innovating in the space, and so we do get those mixes. So yeah,
I'm gonna keep the tips rolling in. We got Waleed is now a GameCast, specifically White Tiger. Canadian $5 tip says, "Hi Brian, hey Waleed. I emailed you a picture of my modded PSVR2. I recommended the lens silicone protector as it saves it from dust damage and top strap doubled comfort." Who the hell did you email? Because I check my email constantly and I don't remember seeing that. I'll have to double check. I'll search your name, Waleed. But thank you for sending it along, and thanks for the recommendation. I just checked in with Real Optics, the third VR lens company I was waiting for. I got the VR Rocks right here, and I got the Hans VR right here, and Real Optics was like, "Oh shit, we forgot to mail them to you, so we'll get those right out." I was like, "What? This is like a month ago." So sorry for the delay on the VR lens review, but it's coming, I promise. And so is the Bad Dreams review. Those guys keep patching the game. It's like, dude,
I know.
I told them, let me know when it's done so I can review it. I don't want my review to be outdated 5 minutes after I upload it. So, yeah, but they're doing some good work on that game. So I would say, everyone, if you're interested in Bad Dreams on PSVR1, just be patient. I'll give them another few days at least. We get a couple more tips with Burnsy 8709. You never get to catch this live. How have you made 2 episodes in a row? With the 2 quid says Switchback VR patch is awesome. Glad I held off. We're gonna be talking a lot about the Switchback patch in just a minute. And then Waleed with another Canadian $5 tip says, guys, I am drowning in PSVR2 goodness with Daily Pavlov. Just bought Switchback, bought Moss Bundle on sale yesterday, and still playing Red Matter 2. And it's only gonna get better. Right, dude, how cool is August? August is going to be so great. We got VR Skater next month. We've got Phasmophobia. We got Crossfire Sierra Squad. We've got Firewall Zero. I mean, not 0 Hour Ultra. Firewall Ultra.
Yeah.
I mean, just like banger after banger, man. Like it's
incredible. So
finish those games well, because you're going to need some spare time. We get the button pressing, joystick moving, feline friend. $5 tip says, gaming isn't always about realism. It's about taking you to new and unique worlds. Agreed. That's why I can never say that realism is going to be my favorite all the time. All right, let's just get some housekeeping out of the way. 15 minutes into the show, we've got a lot to talk about today, so we're going to do our best to kind of blast through a few of these news stories. Guys, if you're not a member of our Discord, make sure you click the link in the description below, and for a very good reason, because not only do we do our Sunday multiplayer meetups every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, or 3 p.m. Eastern. 2 p.m. I don't know, man. I've got everything screwed up.
2 p.m.
At 2 p.m. Thank you. but we also but this weekend we're doing D-Day beta stuff, D-Day enhanced beta stuff. Not just Sunday, but also Saturday. So if you don't have keys to the D-Day enhanced beta yet, go join our Discord. Go to the D-Day enhanced beta channel and just type a message. Say, could I please have a key, and tell them your region. If you don't know what region you're in, if you're in North America, that's NA. That's NA, North America. If you're anywhere else that's not an Asian territory, it's EU, right? European, or I guess Australia has a region too. So AU, EU, NA, and then I don't think anybody watches our channel from Asian territories. If you do, say hi, because I never hear from you. So,
and I just have to say to that, Brian, like if people haven't joined one of these beta ones yet, just do it. It's something else. With that many people, it's just really, really, really good fun.
Yeah. So make sure you join us for the D-Day enhanced beta Saturday and Sunday. I think it's 2 p.m. Eastern both days, but just double check in the Discord. The shit keeps changing every 5 minutes over there, and I cannot keep up. And of course, if you don't subscribe to Myles at youtube.com/Myles. Myles, what you've been playing PSVR2 games nonstop, like 6 a week or something like that. Have you been able to keep that up?
I don't know, and I might be doing just 3 this weekend, depending on how I feel when I wake up in the morning. So currently at the moment, I've done 42 Let's Plays, and I've got just over 84 left, which works out, if I keep doing 6 a week, that's 14 weeks, but they keep announcing new games. I think Phasmophobia is not on that list, so
that's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, but it's really enjoyable, and I just get to appreciate games and chat with the people, because I play them all from the start. It's just great having conversations with the chat about the games. But yeah, this weekend at the moment, I've got 3 scheduled for tomorrow. Starts at midday Eastern, 5 p.m. UK time, and that is with Cave Digger, the first one, which I've actually not played on PSVR2 yet.
That just got an update like yesterday, and I really wanted to check it out because I was like, I wonder what the update could be. It's, because it looked. I hope it's the graphics, because when I started up, I was like, oh, this is just the PSVR1 game, like carbon copy, and it didn't even. The lighting wasn't very good. It was very flat. Ever since they upgraded from just being in that mineshaft to being able to let you go out, like they killed the lighting. Like they just made everything real drab looking, probably for performance reasons. So I'm really hoping that they, spruce that up a little bit. Yeah,
I did hear that with it on PSVR, the first one, that it was missing content that was on PC VR version. Oh. I think there were like other areas above ground. I could be completely wrong there, so I'm curious to know if those things have been added to the PSVR2 version. And I will just say, Cave Digger 2, despite its jankiness and glitchiness when you have 4 players, I actually had a really good time with it, and I ended up platinuming it. And yeah, it was a really good time. So yes, anyway, Cave Digger. Then 2 hours later, I'm going to be playing Tentacular, which it was a game since launch that I was curious about.
Yep.
I know very little about it other than the trailer. So, and I know there's a lot of game cats out there that have always been curious about it. So good chance to have a look. And then I'm going to be, rocking out with some unplugged air guitar on Saturday night. So if any of you want some music and to see me absolutely ruin a few classics, have you given unplugged air guitar a go, Brian?
It's one of the few I haven't even started. I haven't heard the greatest things about it, but apparently you're cruising for some copyright claims there, aren't you?
Yeah, they've told me as long as you don't monetize, you should be fine. Which is it. And for those that aren't familiar with how copyright works, there's one thing that you can get by with, which is if they claim it and they just run ads on it, that's fine. It's when they claim it and do a block or an actual strike, because it takes down your video and then 3 strikes and you're out. And it's something still with video games that is continuing an issue, especially with games that are about music. You think that there would be some kind of thing with the label of we'll let you put the game, but then it can be done online. But yeah, there's that. And then just to quickly go through Sunday, which I haven't scheduled yet, and I'll see how I feel tomorrow, but they're all going to be sit-down games. Again, starting from 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK time. Moss Book 1, jumping into the world with Quill. Then Tetris Effect. And then I plan to end the weekend with Before Your Eyes, and I'm going to see if I can just play the entire game in one sitting, because I think it's around 2 hours. But again, I'll see how I do. So, to be honest, it's a nice sort of chilled Sunday selection. But I was hoping to play VR Skater this weekend. So, it was initially, I think it was in July. I mean, it keeps getting delayed.
Yeah. Still waiting for those keys, so anytime now.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, if they're just fixing small bugs and trophy stuff, then I can't imagine that those keys won't be out soon.
But it just makes August more stacked, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Nick Milo in the chat says, "Oh, is that why I didn't know the train went further?" He's talking about Cave Digger 1, ice caves and poison, etc. Those are in Cave Digger now. Okay, so there you go. There you have it.
There you go.
Burnsie8709 with 5 quid says, haha, you remembered. Haha. And don't ever count on that happening again. My memory is absolute trash. I listen to all the podcasts at work during the day. My shift pattern has recently changed, so I'll be dropping more often. Thank you very much, man. I'm glad that you're going to be here more often. Love. I think everybody's tired before GAMESCAST. It's late in the day. It's even later for Myles. And it's you guys in the chat that kind of help bring us up. And I feel like we're being cheered on or something. While he's out,
I know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I know a lot of people in the UK and actually close friends of mine that always text me going, "I'm going to bed, but I'll watch it on replay." I know people that listen to it in their car on the work week later on with all the shows and that. So, those that are listening on replay, you may feel like, am I missing the party live? We always love seeing the comments afterwards. And it just means it helps the conversation keep going, because sometimes we have these conversations and you go away from them, have a think about them, and then think, actually, now I've made my mind up, because obviously our role on the show is to have an opinion now. And it's not always easy, is it, Brian?
It's not. And I promise I'm listening to what you're saying.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
All right. So, dude, we gotta get on with the show here. So let's talk about some very recent rumors and very persistent rumors, I guess we should say, about the PlayStation 5 Pro. This comes to us from Insider Gaming. Here it is. PS5 Pro release date, plans, and console details. I got to tell you, man, like I saw some news about this on Twitter today. Different people talking about it, saying what the Pro will bring, and I said, I don't know, man. Like, we keep hearing this nonsense, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it took 2 years for PS5s to become available, and now here's another rumor saying PS5 Pros are coming November 2024, right? So for holiday 2024, and I was like, that just seems too early to me. That's just over a year away. But then I see Insider Gaming say it, and I feel like Insider Gaming has quite a few of their own sources, and they don't just post random rumors. So I do feel like this could be a thing. Have you had a chance to read this article yet?
I have, but I'm happy for us to pick out particular pieces on it. It's very short.
It is very short. So let's just get all this info out there right now. The PlayStation 5 Pro is aiming for a November 2024 release. According to a new report from Akita Gaming, the PS5 Pro, codenamed Project Trinity, is already having demo events held to showcase the improvements. It's also stated that a majority of studios will also receive dev kits by late November this year, 2023. As far as specs are concerned, those, according to the report, have been tough to obtain. However, two things that we do know is that the PS5 Pro will feature, this is where tech speak comes in, and it's 18,000 MTs per second of memory, and I just don't, honestly, I haven't followed tech since like the difference between what 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit meant. So you guys are on. Let's
just say megatons. Megatons of memory.
Nice. 18,000 megatons per second, and 30 WGP workgroup processor. So again, performance targets for the PS5 include improved frame rates per second, as well as better frames per second stability, performance at 4K resolution, and an 8K performance mode and accelerated ray tracing. The last thing mentioned in the report is that the PS5 Pro is likely to be the last major hardware release from Sony for the current gen. After that, the focus is expected to shift to development of the PlayStation 6. Like, is that just the biggest no dust statement on the face of the planet? Like, maybe we'll get a Slim, right? Like in the next year, and then we'll get a Pro, maybe. But yeah, I mean, what other major hardware could we possibly be seeing from them until the PlayStation 6?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. I think that the whole thing about 8K, because didn't it advertise on the PS5 boxes that it can do 8K? I think it does.
See, but the thing, Myles, is that anything can do anything, right? Like they can say, yeah, we can output at 8K, but it'll run at 5 frames per second. Right.
No, I agree completely, and we haven't really seen that. And to be honest, I do feel like, I'm just speaking for me personally, I don't care about 8K. There used to be this thing, I think, with the last generation, towards the end of the last generation of consoles, there was all this thing about, is it native 4K? And then, I started watching Digital Foundry, and every time I watch them, I'm just like, this sounds amazing. I kind of half understand what they're saying, but it's really interesting. And they were talking about all these examples. I think they showed it with the game Control, which is where they put on one half the screen Control in native 4K, and then they did it in I don't know if it is the same as checkerboard. Someone in the chat can correct me, but it's when they have code that basically upscales in real time. So it means you don't have to do native 4K, you can do it at a lower resolution, and then in game it scales it up, and you can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference. Now, where it might be great is for stuff with VR, when we think of reprojection and those kind of things. I think this is where it could be really, really interesting for people that want to play, higher frame rates and also with great, fidelity. getting that good mix. I think it's going to be great. I think for the casual gamer, it's not really going to be much of a sell, but I do think for VR gamers, it could be interesting.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with everything you just said. I have zero desire to play things in 8K. I don't have any desire to get an 8K TV. Most people have said there's no actual difference. It's all in order for TV manufacturers and everybody else to sell you more expensive things. And I just don't think that that's necessary. I think 4K has become the standard. 1080p was the standard for the longest time, and now 4K. And it's like I think we're just going to stay there. So I think if a PlayStation 5 Pro comes along, very few people are going to see a major difference. But for people who care, I think majority of gamers care to some degree about making sure that frame rates are always 60 FPS minimum, if not 120 FPS these days. But yeah, I think our community will probably get the most benefit out of it, because even though I don't think I saw a great tantrum going on in the chat about some nonsense, but I think the thing is that, we haven't maxed out the performance of PSVR2 on PlayStation 5 yet. Like, these things haven't even been figured out yet. We're still in like this, launch year, 5 months in, where developers are starting to like talk to each other and say, oh, how did you make this happen? Oh, like how can we get this kind of performance? Seeing Red Matter 2 run at 4K 120 FPS and like no reprojection. Like it was kind of magical. Right? I'm like, oh, look what our headset can do. This is beautiful. Even Saints and Sinners running at 90 FPS. We were like, this is the best looking game at that time. So if anything that's going to make it easier for developers to hit these goals, 120 FPS, running at native 4K, whatever, right? So all of this just is something that we all want. We want our PSVR2s to run and look as best as possible. So I will be in line to get this because we want our games to look better. Imagine Village running at the same resolution and frame rate as Red Matter 2. Like, I don't know if you max out the performance of the PSVR 2 on PlayStation 5 if you're going to be able to even do that. Doubtful.
Yeah. Two little points to add to the end of this. Firstly, you want devs to have to optimize for the current hardware. You don't want to then just increase the ceiling and then just be like, oh, you don't have to optimize what we've already got because now we've got all this new, power and everything. So that is definitely why you want it spaced out for a bit. But also, and then the second point is because of the timing. We've only just entered the period for PS5, unless I'm mistaken, where the top like first party games are now being made solely for PS5. Mm-hmm. So God of War was made for both PS4 and PS5. Horizon Forbidden West, although the DLC was PS5 only. I'm tempted to say when it comes to first party games, obviously Returnal actually would have been a PS5 exclusive, but when we think of some of the big titles, Spider-Man 2 is going to be a PS5 exclusive. It's truly next gen. So the fact that this is only kind of happening now, a year and a half until PlayStation Pro, it wouldn't surprise me if it ended up being early 2025 for that reason. But obviously they'd want to get it before the holiday season.
Yeah, I think you're right. Myles, let's switch over to something a little bit different, and that is that Racket Fury has appeared on the PlayStation Store for PlayStation VR2.
We talked about this last week, Racket Fury. We were talking about table tennis in the context of the tennis game, so I'm really happy about this.
Waleed is now GameCast, specifically a White Tiger with a Canadian $2 tip, says also Racket Fury popped up on the store. Free upgrade, ? That's a good question. It's... I mean, different developers have done different things. We haven't really seen a lot from this developer. We don't know what they're going to be asking. But honestly, if it was $20 all over again, the quality and the amount of content there, I wouldn't feel that brokenhearted about having to pay for it again. I just want it.
And multiplayer wasn't at launch, was it, for when it was on PSVR?
Nope.
So I'm curious to know. Like, obviously, I'm not. I assume it will be at launch for PSVR 2, but it makes me think, what other stuff they add? Are they going to have more environments? Because the environments were really cool. Like when you were playing in space on just like the disc, you could hit the ball and it would bounce off and then just drop into the void. Or if you're in that kind of industrial place, you could hit it and it would go all the way down. Like it was kind of cool how the ball interacted with the different environments. So it'd be interesting to see if they add more to it and more customization. But I love the AI when you play practice mode, and no matter how well you play, the opponent will never lose a hit. So the better you are, the better the opponent is. And yeah. Loved it, and I'd love to know what it feels like with the sense controllers, because it felt great with the moves.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they nailed it. I think they're going to reach a wide enough audience with this that even if they do a free upgrade, that they'll be totally fine. This is something that everybody's going to want to play, I think.
And on PSVR when it came out, Brian, because we had a few table tennis games, didn't we? Was it the first out the gate, or? You're gonna have to look it up.
No, it was not. It wasn't the first out of the gate. I don't have to look. It
wasn't.
Up. I got that shit under control.
Yeah. So I guess this time it gets to have first advantage.
Yeah. It didn't have much competition. The entire lifespan of the PSVR1, VR Ping Pong, and then VR Ping Pong Pro, I believe, were the two big ones, and neither one had good physics. Like they just felt broken. And then this
but
comes
for the
along.
average consumer, they wouldn't have known that, would they, necessarily?
No. No.
So they probably would have gone, I'm never buying a VR ping pong game again.
VR Ping Pong Pro spent so much time on the environments, having like these really it was kind of amazing. Like there were ones in arcades and out in like gardens and things like that, and there were people walking by. Like when you were focusing on the table tennis, when you're focusing on the game, it's all that stuff is blurry, but it was fine because that's not what you're focusing on, and it just seems like you're playing ping pong in a very lively place. But the physics were terrible, and I don't know, there were frame rate stutters. Like you'd swing the paddle, and it was like stutter when you tried to hit the ball. You're like, this is just broken. So. Yeah, Racket Fury's had no competition. Obviously, they've had a little more competition in other places. 11 is the one that everybody talks about when it comes to table tennis. And they've, 11 said they were coming to PSVR 1. That didn't happen. I think they said they were coming to PSVR 2. So far, we haven't seen that happen. We haven't gotten any updates. So, yeah, these guys could be first out of the gate.
Cool. I'm going to be playing it.
Nathan backs us up in the chat. 11 table tennis is still the king of physics for ping pong. Well, if you can't get your game to PSVR 2, no one gives a fuck. So,
have you played 11, Brian?
No. Dude, not on PSVR 1, not on PSVR 2. I don't give a fuck. And honestly, Racket Fury, Racket Fury is perfect. It's perfect. It feels perfect. Like just nails the physics. So, what are you going to say? What else do you want?
It nails the physics, Brian, but I was like, I feel like I'm getting so good at table tennis playing this VR game. I wonder how it would translate. And then I finally found a table tennis table, picked up the paddle, and I was like, nope. I am terrible. This has made me worse.
Yeah, I haven't. Oh no, you know what? That's not true. I have played ping pong since playing Racket Fury. And yeah, I mean, I used to play a lot of ping pong. We had a table in our basement when I was a kid, which is really strange. That's not something we would have had, but we did, and we played a lot, man. We played a lot. I feel like I got really, really good at it as a kid, and so like I had the feel for it when I played Racket Fury. I was like, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
Yep.
But yeah, it's not a substitute for real ping pong, because I did play ping pong not that long ago, and I was not very good at it. So, okay, a couple things here before we move on to our next news story. First, Burnsy8709 with the £5 says, and a tip for the guy who uploads the podcast. I will send $5 along to Jay Meow, although that conversion's not accurate. So maybe more than that. Thank you very much. Macho Vasquez with a $5 tip says, hey guys, what if this is Sony's way to make the PSVR 2 more accessible by lowering the PS5 price, but still having the higher dollars with the Pro? Yeah, I mean,
yeah, quite possibly.
I think it's their way of making the PlayStation 5 more accessible, right? If they're going to do the slim model without the disc drive, the optical drive,
yes,
and then have the optical drive be an optional attachment, which is what all the rumors are pointing to. They want to make the PlayStation 5 as cheap as possible, not just to get more PSVR 2 gamers in, but to get more PS5 gamers in, right? The Xbox launched with, the cheapo model and the high end model. And this is Sony's way to kind of do the same thing, but not take any power away from the players. And once they release the Pro model, now it's like now we're not talking about what would be considered the Pro model in 2020 when Xbox and PS5 launched. We're talking about the Pro model in 2024. Like, what does Pro mean then? Not what did Pro mean 4 years ago.
Yeah. So many tips coming in today. So thank you everyone for the generosity. And even if you haven't tipped, it doesn't matter. But do hit the like button. That's another way you can help. And actually, I'm going to press it now. I haven't pressed it yet. Shame on me.
I haven't pressed it yet either. I'm slacking big time today.
Outrageous.
Dude, another PSVR 1 game is coming to PlayStation VR2, and I think it's one that a lot of people are going to be excited about. If you're a member of the Alvo Discord, then maybe you saw this today. Is it today? I don't even know. But Steve CLT over there said that Alvo will be released on PSVR2 in August or September. So very soon we could have another August title on our hand. We should. And dude, how crazy is it that we have like Crossfire and Firewall and possibly even Alvo all dropping like within that same small time period? Like D-Day Enhanced is probably coming within the next few months too. It's like, I mean, like just we've got too many.
This was the question, wasn't it, leading up to Firewall, about the pressure of these other games, and is this gonna? I think you were talking about it with Wes on Wednesday's show about is the pressure from each of them of like, it doesn't matter if you have the better game, there is something powerful about going out the gate first, and it has been long enough since Pavlov that there'll be people that have Pavlov but want to try a different first-person shooter to mix it up.
Yeah.
But as for Alvo, I was very late to the game. I think I joined it when you and I were reviewing on the show the factory level, and I just loved it way better than I expected. Kept coming back to it, and then I was excited for the zombie mode, but then felt it's not one I'm going to play again. Like, I enjoyed it the first time. There's a lot of tweaking, but they seem to constantly optimize the game. But I haven't played it in a very long time.
Yeah.
And it is a game I'm looking forward to jumping back into. But it is going to be interesting to see with these different games. But I do feel they all offer something a bit different.
They do. They do, really. I mean,
how does that split the multiplayer audience?
I mean, I don't know. Like, it only splits the audience if people start, bringing fanboy wars into it, right? Because there certainly was. There are people saying, "Oh, Alvo sucks, Firewall for life," or vice versa. And when a game like Alvo is bringing things like much faster pace, more arcade style, and a bunch of realism too, right? They're working on manual reloads, or they did work on manual reloads. They got 5v5. They did. It's just fun to run in that game and then switch over to sliding, like mid slide, you slide into cover.
Yeah,
like it's stuff that Firewall just doesn't do. So, but Firewall just has this level of polish that most people can't match. The slow tactical thing works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I just think that you're right. There's something different for everybody in every game. And Crossfire Sierra Squad is the one that you're going to go to for some arcade co-op. And indeed, it's going to be the one you go to if you just want to have a fucking ridiculous time with a bunch of people, like the over-the-top chaos. So, like I'm really happy that all of these are coming.
For sure, and especially because a lot of people that consider VR say, "I love first-person shooters." Think of Call of Duty. It's like, but you've got all these games to play, which are going to be all good in their own right. I think something that's going to be quite interesting to see how it will. And when I say split the audience, I don't mean like taking sides, but naturally people are going to be saying to their friends, "What do you want to play tonight?" The games that will succeed at this point, I think, I don't know what Crossfire's situation is going to be, but with Firewall and with Alvo, is they both have progression systems where, if you keep playing games, you get XP to unlock cosmetics and things like that. I don't know if Firewall have actually confirmed there's going to be a battle pass at launch. I assume there will be, because this is what they've had. Whereas Pavlov is really, really good fun, but there is no progression system. So for that reason, it's like Pavlov you can play anytime because it's just the same game, and you start from the beginning. Whereas if there's a battle pass and it's going to end on a certain date, this is why they do them with all the games. You and your friends going, "Oh, come on, can you come on now? Because I've almost completed it." And I think that will be something that pulls people back again. And that was something Alvo did introduce towards the end of the PSVR cycle as well. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, every game's going to have their own audience. Whenever you and I talk about progression systems in Pavlov, there's always people in the chat being like, "I fucking hate progression systems. Like, just give me everything that I want right out of the gate.
Yeah.
What's this? Just give me everything. I just want to play with everything right away, and I want to get in there with my friends right away. Like, don't make me work for stuff. And meanwhile, you and I are like, make us work for stuff. Like, make us feel like everything we do is rewarding. And so there's definitely going to be people in both camps. I didn't even finish the blog post update. So Steve had said it'll be releasing on PSVR2 in August or September. We should have the exact date soon. You can sign up for the closed beta testing here. Let me just copy and paste that into the chat. So if you guys want to sign up for the beta testing, my mouse is breaking as we do this, making things much more difficult than it should be. Yeah, if you want to sign up for the beta testing, just click the link that I'm about to post in the description here. So PSVR2 in Steam will cost $20, $19.99. And then they're working with Sony for anyone who owns Alvo already on PSVR1 to have just a $5 upgrade fee. I think this is, super fair.
$20. What was it at launch for PSVR? Was it like, say again?
40.
It was 40, yeah. That's what I thought. So, $20. Obviously, they want to be competitive. They know what the landscape is. That thing about August or September, you know what that means. We want it to be August. They want it to be August. Which means it's going to be October then. Yeah.
That's my feeling. If I was to bet my $5 upgrade fee on it, I would bet that it's going to be October.
Okay. Yeah, probably. Yeah. And there's an argument to be said that spacing out from the launch of the others, let the others battle it out for the next couple of months, and then people are looking for something fresh, and then it's like, oh, this has come out. Whereas when there's 3 games at the same time, even if we argue, and here with the reviews and that, they're all amazing, everyone should experience them all. For the casual gamer out there that, for some disastrous reason, doesn't watch PSVR2 without Parole, what are they doing? If you know those people, send them this way. There'll be people that are always looking for something fresh. And if Alvo is in October, people will naturally look at it and go, it's a new first-person shooter game. I had so much fun with Firewall or with Crossfire. This must be the next step. There wouldn't be anything wrong with that.
Mikey D, Cosmo VR Kitty in the chat with the $5 tip says, hey cats. Hello. So many great games already. Loving Red Matter and Synapse. Looking forward to Behemoth, but it seems to have fallen off the radar. Any news? Lots of things fall off the radar. I feel very, very fortunate that sometimes, not all the time, I don't have much clout in the gaming industry, Myles. People think that I do, and I'm just like, oh my god, they responded to me. That's fucking crazy. I've reached out to a lot of studios recently whose games seem like they've fallen off the map, and very pleasantly surprised to find out that everyone's just got their head down and they're working hard on their game, and that's exactly what's happening with Behemoth. And I'll tell you, I don't know any details. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's still slated to launch late 2023, like that original teaser trailer. Remember the 10-second one that just announced the name of the game and didn't even show the CGI? That said late 2023. So I don't know if they're still holding to that, but the team is hard at work over there. And if you didn't see, they're also releasing. They're following through on their promise of releasing Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution on PSVR 1, seemingly this fall, according to the trailer that they put out with all this Saints and Sinners news. So a lot of good stuff happening over at Skydance.
Yeah, there's still so many games for 2023, whether it's Arizona Sunshine 2, Grain Hell. It's in the window. It could get knocked. Ghostbusters, Lo-Fi, Vampire the Masquerade, and then 2024 Wanderer and Talking Dogs. Dogs is, which I think is, I don't know much about it, but I hear it's one to look out for.
Look out for sure. All right, I think. Oh, sorry. Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry in the chat with the $2 tip says timestamps tomorrow. Having pizza with the wife. Thanks for letting us know, and that's cool.
What pizza? What pizza are you having?
Yeah. Also, as far as I'm concerned, you can get out of anything by saying, "Hey, I'm having pizza tonight. I can't get around to it." Like that makes perfect sense to me. You go do your thing, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, Myles, we got a few more things to talk about here. And I think we should talk about some updates that a couple of games have had recently. And let's start with the one that happened yesterday. And that is the Walkabout Mini Golf DLC, known as Laser Layer. It's the first in the Evil Layers DLC pack. So, man, I want to know what you thought of it, because I have a lot to say.
Yeah, I have a lot to say as well. I mean, firstly, I just want to say that I do the natural thing. A new DLC, you scroll to the end of the menu, and I'm like, where is it? It's like, oh no, you got to go back because they have all these different pockets. Initial thoughts. It is incredible just how these levels are developing in their scale, their scope, the different styles. This is an entire island, and it's absolutely wonderful to explore. Has some interactivity, which we'll get to with a beach ball, which is very, very cool. And it has the main mechanic, I think, is pretty much on it's on every single hole, is the lasers. And if you hit your ball through it, it's not going to bounce off or anything. You can't hit it really quickly through it. Nope, just cuts it in half.
Yeah, which
it's
never
pretty brutal.
Never gets old.
No,
never gets old. I laughed every single time, whether it was my ball, whether it was somebody else's ball, whether it was the first time it happened, whether it caused me to stroke out. Dude, like it just never got old to me. I loved seeing that ball, get sliced in half, and depending on how fast it hits the laser, the two halves will just go flying in different directions, or just kind of stop and fall down. And I liked it a lot.
And you have those moments of suspense. So there's some courses where the lasers are just always on, and then there's others where there's like blocks in the way, or they're rotating, so they disappear and then reappear. And so you hit the ball and it will stop, and you're like, is it safe? And then the laser cuts it up. You're like, no, I'm going to do it again. But the last thing I'll say before actually, two quick things I'll say before I hear your thoughts is, one, the exploration is really interesting. I could be mistaken, but and I haven't actually played all the maps yet. There's still some I'm yet to play. But it feels like they've stepped up the exploration. In like the very first maps they did, it was like you had the course, you walked around it, and you couldn't walk off the course. Like it was all just scenery to look at. You could obviously fly to it, whereas here you'll be in the in this secret base, and then you'll walk to the window, and then you can walk down it into the forest that's on the island, and you can just keep walking. And so there's a lot more of that, which I thought was interesting. And then the second thing, which sort of ties in with the exploration, there's a bit in the course where there's a stairway that goes down, and it's actually not to the next hole, it's to the jetty. And there is a boat that goes all the way around the island, and you can actually get in it and ride. And so there's this real scale to it, and there's a lot of magical things in it, like going in an elevator. There are some people that they just love pressing the trigger button to go to the next hole, but I do think that there is something quite nice when you've got to wait for something to come across the water, a raft to get on and then go across, or go in the elevator to the next thing. I do try and keep telling myself, for this one, don't use auto teleport. Just walk around and enjoy the exploration. But yeah, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I got to tell you, when they announced this, I was like, doesn't really sound like it's for me. It's not that I've been disappointed in some of the DLC. It's that I don't know, something about it. Like the Atlantis course looks beautiful, but there's something about being there that I'm just like, I just don't care about. And the same with Zatura, that's the sequel to Jumanji. Whatever, the Egyptian one I'm talking about. It's just like, it's all right. It's good. It's just like, there's a few that are just like, I'm like, these aren't one of their better ones. Like, I think most of the DLC is better than any of the 8 original ones. But I do think the quality kind of varies. It's all great. It's how great is it is the question. And
different people like different themes, and it's nice that we have that selection. Some people like different stuff, but I'm with you completely on that.
Yeah, and I was like, I was like, what? I don't care about like some James Bond evil villain layer thing, whatever, right? And then when I got into it, I was like, I take it back. The music just is perfect. Like it really sets the mood. There's little funny jokes everywhere. It's fun to just walk around and look at they're having a science fair right on the very first hole. And it's just like, this is so odd, but also so creative. And as you said, it's one of the biggest courses yet. You just fly around, you look at everything, and I'm very, very impressed by it. So $4, man, like this is. I feel like by the end of this generation, Walkabout is going to get more money from me than Beat Saber is. right? Because Walkabout releases at least 3 DLC packs within the time that Beat Saber releases one, and then that kind of averages out a little bit. So
it's very, very true. And you just know that they're always going to be a really good time. And I feel I should know this already. If you don't own a map and a friend sets it up, you can play the course, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You don't.
You just can't. You just can't find the hidden balls. You can't do the fox hunt. But I will say that the putter that you unlock with the exploding kittens fox hunt is awesome.
Is it
probably my top? I don't even want to say what it is, but my top 3 favorites, because I don't know, man. Like, you don't know what's going to ruin things for people, right? It's like sometimes like just entering this new world and like just kind of seeing things for yourself for the first time, and then being rewarded at the end of a fox hunt with a new club. You're like, oh, look, that's what it looks like. I had no idea. Like, this is what you pay $4 for.
I need to play a lot more of this, because actually I've only ever completed one of the nighttime or whatever the hard courses are, which was the submarine one. So I need to go back. But this is the point: is there's just so many, and it's one of those things of when I play it a lot. It's not that I've just played like 7 games and they've all been different courses. I play with friends, and it's like, what do you want to play? And sometimes it's one we've already done, and I'm just happy to play it. But going back to the point about the theme, it's not really a theme that would appeal to me. I'm not someone that really watches those kind of spy thriller movies. But the game is just so charming, isn't it? Like, no matter what the theme is, it's always just really pleasant. This was actually also the first time I've played a round of golf by myself. I'm always playing with friends, so I actually just did the 18 holes by myself, and it was an interesting dynamic, because I left it thinking, was that a much shorter course than the others?
Yeah, I mean, playing by yourself or with one other person, it's literally like a 10 to 15 minute at most experience. Yeah, and then as soon as you get 4 or 5 people in there, suddenly like 45 minutes. So
yes, it really is. But Walkabout mini golf continues to be an absolute joy to play, and the things I want to see them improve is sort of the social hub area, because there's sort of 3 things you can do. You can either play a match by yourself or do training. You can do quick play, which puts you on 9 holes with just someone. It could be the first half or the latter half with just someone random, or you can set up a room that others play and then you decide together. I do wish there was some kind of either social area where you could like see other people in the driving range or group up, or there was just a bit more customization with the quick game. So, because the quick game, it's just 2 people click quick game, and I guess it just chooses something random for them. It'd be kind of cool if you could say, I want to host a quick game.
Here's my parameters.
And like, here's the parameters, and like having a menu for it as well, so you can see who's playing or looking for quick. But look, it works at the moment. It's not broken, and I just feel like I'd just like some things tweaked with the sort of the glue that holds it all together, because in terms of the amount of content and the levels, it's absolutely amazing. And I've not found many balls on this one yet. It was, again, playing by myself. I was just getting around the course, so I definitely want to go back, and it seems there's plenty to explore for it.
Yeah, I've heard the same complaints about the customization, about the quick maps, quick match stuff. It's so funny because I've never once gone into Walkabout and said, let's see who's playing. Right? It's always, I'm sitting in Discord and somebody goes, hey, do you want to play a game of Walkabout? I was like, sure. Who else is around? Oh, this person. Okay, let's send them the room code. Let's do this. And so it's always organized before I even start the game. But yeah, I understand that not everybody plays like that, so it makes sense.
Because it's also, if you create a room for multiplayer, the only people that know about it are those that you share it with. And I've done that on Discord and stuff like that, and played with others, or done it on a live stream. That's really good. It'd be nice sometimes if you created it, and then so it's not even just quick play could lead people into it. You could say quick play. Do you want to play a 9-hole, which is the regular one, or do you want to play a full? Because sometimes people want a quick. I know it might be argued it's not a quick play mode. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't really made up my mind about it, but I just feel like there's just a little bit of extra goodness they could add there. But in terms of the content itself, like, I just love it again and again.
Yeah, if it was up to me, and it's not, but I kind of want them to just keep doing what they're doing. Like, I don't want them to take focus away from bringing us new content in order to make some big social hub. Like,
Sure.
keep doing that. And I'm of the opinion, at least, that like I don't care about having a social hub in each and every game.
Yeah.
Like if anything, I would take a social hub from Sony, like a PlayStation home style social hub, where then you can meet up with people who are also in VR, and then you can say, "Hey, do you want to go play this game together?" And then kind of add them to your group of friends. But for each game to individually have one, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I mean, it's just not how I play games. I understand.
Sure.
That's not universal.
And I'm with you completely. I think the reason I feel it for Walkabout mini golf is because it's literally a universe now, because there's so many worlds. Like if it was just a game with like 4 or 5 courses and that was it, yeah, no point, just have the courses. But like as you say, this generation, and when speaking to the devs, they were saying that they've got enough ideas for like the next, I think it was like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It's just that it's just that they don't release them, and it's why they don't announce them well in advance. They just keep their heads down, kind of what you're saying with the other games. They keep their heads down, and when they're ready, they're ready. So yeah.
Well, Myles, speaking of things that we're not ready, we got the Switchback patch today. This was long awaited. I think the game came out in May, June, July. Is that right? Like it's been 2 months. I don't even remember when the game came out, but it was. It took them a long time to address that they were working on a patch, and then when they said they were working on a patch, they said it would hit at the end of. They were hoping for the end of June, and then it ended up being closer to the end of July.
It came out in March 16th.
March.
So
man.
Yeah, I know, dude.
It's been a while.
Which felt like ages after the launch of PSVR2, because it was going to be a launch title. And it was like, oh my God. But right? And in the grand scheme of things, it's just like, it was such a long time ago.
Yeah. But thanks to Supermassive, who sent both me and Myles. Dude, it's something I've never seen before, dude. I've never seen a studio send out essentially a patch via PlayStation code ever. I've never seen this, and like ever since I started doing this, most studios have been like, "Well, we can't do that, right? Patches can't be sent out through keys." But yet, that's exactly what happened. You had to own the game, and this kind of patched your existing game, and they sent this out to you and I a few days back. And so we were able to check it out before the patch dropped. And I got to say, man, I don't think I could be any happier with this. Like it gave me a feeling getting in there and seeing, I mean, just from the get-go, the very first thing you see is this, statement on the screen. It says, oh, it's you move your arms a lot, make sure you don't hit your pets and whatever. And it's just noticed that I remember when I started it up, when it first came out in March, and it was blurry. I was like, why is this blurry? It's text on a screen. What is going on here? And so starting it up today, and I just seeing that being crystal clear, saying, all right, I think we're off to a good start. And that very first loading screen is like zip, zip, zip. Some of the later loading screens are still a little bit longer than you'd expect, but certainly nothing to complain about. And then you get into the game, and everything just looks the way a PlayStation VR2 game should look. It just looks clear. It looks good. It looks detailed, and everything moves well. Like it just, at this point I've forgotten, because I really haven't played Switchback much since March, but I've forgotten, like, did the haptics exist back in March? I don't think they did. We're going over the tracks, and I feel the in my sense controllers, which is something I remember saying. Sorry, sirens on my end. I remember saying, it's like, here we have this new technology. We have these amazing haptics in our sense controllers. We have haptics in the headset, and you're not going to utilize any of that in order to make me feel like I'm really riding a roller coaster? Like, what? How did this fall between the cracks? Like, this is one of the most important things you could have done with a brand new PSVR2 game for a PSVR2 headset that just came out like a month ago. And so I'm really, really happy they spent the time and just kind of paid attention to these details that sort of fell by the wayside the first time around.
Yeah, I mean, look, huge credit to Supermassive Games, because, feel for them at launch. Like they released it, they got hit hard across the board. Not to say it wasn't Warrant. It was. I did it on a live stream, and I was pretty shocked. And just one example is, there's a lot of these sort of what feel like dream sequences because it was just super blurry where you're on this train.
Yes.
And it was super blurry. And it was this question like, is it the effect and like an effect they're doing? It's a lot clearer now. Now, Brian and I were talking before the show about it of like, was that because it was never meant to be blurry? It might be that it was an art choice that just with the fidelity issues, it made it worse. And they just said, let's undo it completely. But there's a first scene during the credits where you're on the train, you look around, and I won't go into details for those that haven't seen it. But straight away, I was struck by it and thought, wow, this definitely feels clear. And, my main issue with it was as someone who really struggles with horror games, as many of you know, I didn't really find this game particularly scary. And a big part of it was it felt like this kind of screen door effect because just the fidelity wasn't there. I felt like I was watching a screen all around me. Having jumped into this, and actually I just wanted to touch upon the thing you said right at the start about the fact it was weird getting a key for a demo, because I claimed the key and then I'm looking on my for the beta version, because normally what happens is, for those that don't know, is when you get normally like DLCs beforehand, or it's like the beta you get for D-Day, you get a separate game which you play, which is separate to it. This was actually a code that you then just click to update the main game itself, which was kind of interesting to see. But the other thing I wanted to say on it was, normally when games are getting big overhauls, and I could be mistaken, there might be other games that have done it, and just because we haven't been in the mix of it, we didn't know. But I just feel for the most part, when they're going to do a launch of a patch, they just put the patch out there. The idea that a week before they're sending it to people to like pre-review or just get the heads up. But I think it was not because they were worried about it, thinking, is there something we've missed? I mean, they might take some feedback. They weren't going to delay it. But I think it was kind of a confidence of like, we want to give chances for creators to give their impressions now that we've done the work.
Although, let's be fair, that didn't go over so well the first time, right?
No, it didn't. We
saw nothing but scariest game ever in VR thumbnails, like all over the place, and and that was very misleading. We played it, and we're like, this is not the scariest game ever. This isn't even actually very scary.
Yeah, and having watched a lot of content creators reacting to this, there has been quite I feel there's been quite a sober approach to it. People saying this is definitely a lot better. They've clearly, there's been a lot of reflection on like how it did look before. When I started playing it though, and I even though I had it earlier in the week, I only actually got to play it last night briefly, because I've been at this work event all week. So I was just like, I think we got the code the day I went off for this work thing, and I wasn't going to take my PS5 and VR with me as much as I'd love to. And so when I rushed into it, I didn't play it without the patch first, which I kind of wish I had done. Yeah. And as I was playing it, I was just like, I was very tired. And I spoke to you about it, and you said like, you're really happy with it. And in that moment, I was like, okay, I thought it was better, but I just felt like it's been such a long time. I'm going to say, I think it's better. Like, it could have been one of those things where they just gave you a game which was exactly the same. And because they tell you it's better, you go, wow, this feels a lot better. And it's like, suckers, we didn't change anything. Yeah. But as you were mentioning about like the tracks and that, I definitely think that was new. There's a lot of subtleties, and you really notice it when the characters come up close and in your face. And once again, there was a lot of those moments when I first played it, and I didn't find it particularly scary, because even when they were in your face, it felt like there was a screen in your face, whereas now it's like, no, they're there. Yeah. I haven't played a huge amount of it. I've played just like the tutorial in the first area, but I ended the stream, I think, on the third world, so I'm definitely going to go back and play it all again. So I'm really looking forward to it. And the last thing I'll say at the end of this ramble is Rush of Blood was a game that whenever I had friends visit that were new to VR, it was one of the first games I put them in. But with this Switchback VR, I've never shown it to anyone. However, now I definitely would.
I agree. I don't know if this was a self-fulfilling prophecy or what, but kind of leading up to this patch, I kept saying, I wonder if all the distractions, right? The low res textures and some of the poor lighting and whatever else, right? Like just the general blur. And like you said, sort of just feeling like there was a screen in front of you. If all of that was distracting me too much and keeping me from really enjoying what was actually there, like the actual game that they had delivered. And I do think that I spent an hour post patch, and I will tell you that the second I got in that cart and I just like looking around, and I just had that feeling that I was playing Rush of Blood. And I was like, here I am, like this is the game I want to be playing. Like it was a good feeling. Like I was smiling. I was happy to be there. It looked good. It felt good. And I don't want to spoil anything, obviously, but there's a bathroom scene early on where you just kind of like your cart stops and cool things happen. Cool things always happen in the bathroom, Myles. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it even happens
in the UK. They do indeed. Yeah,
yeah, for real. Just hang out long enough, cool shit will happen. Just magic. And I was tense. I was tense, and that's not something I remember feeling when I first reviewed the game. I remember feeling bored, but with all these distractions kind of just slipping away, it really allows you to feel immersed and feel like you're there and just enjoy it more. And I think that they really undersold themselves by rushing this out, because now, as you've seen in the chat, I think was it Tatum saying that he wished that they just delayed the game until this was all ready. And it probably wasn't possible, right? Because of deadlines and whoever published the game or whatever, right? But they should have, because I mean, was this $40? This is a premium price product.
It was, and there was a lot of people that asked for refunds. Like it's anecdotal, but like that's not an anecdote I hear about. Like you'd often hear it, maybe one person on a game, but it was something I did hear from quite a lot, and a lot of people that were like, "I'm glad I didn't buy it." We did a poll a couple of weeks ago of like, "Is this going to change?" But yeah, absolutely. It goes back to the core crux. We were talking earlier about, is it about realism games or is it about ones that take you to other worlds? Regardless of which of those two things it is, and there's a whole spectrum between those two characteristics, it's about immersion. You can be in a game that isn't realistic, but you feel you're there. And I didn't feel I was there when I played it when it first came out. And I remember, I hate to say this, on the third main level in it, on the live stream, I was yawning. I couldn't stop yawning. Yeah. And to be fair, it was because I was tired. But the point is, even when you're tired, when you're tense, you don't yawn. You're focused. And it was just the constant stop and starting. And as you say, those moments where it's really tense, you feel like, well, there's nothing that's gonna. You don't feel under threat, because it feels like, yeah, I'm just watching some kind of horror movie on a screen that's around me. It's whereas now it's like, no, you feel completely present. So it's going to be really interesting to see what people feel about it. My biggest regret is that a lot of this, the first time I experienced it, is now knowing the jump scares and stuff, and the creepy bits. It's obviously different now. It looks better, but I kind of wish, especially because I feel the earlier levels are stronger, I kind of wish that would have been my first experience. And finally, the thing about it being delayed, or wishing it being delayed, we were saying 16th of March, and we were like, that felt like such a long time at the launch. When we had all these games at launch for PSVR2, we had plenty of time, but it was a game they were like, oh, why are they delaying it? And we just assumed that it was ready. It was just like, not quite there yet. They're tweaking a few things. But hindsight's a wonderful thing. And it's another example of why games should come out when they're ready. But we know that it's not always about when it's ready. It's also about the pressures of promotion. And it was clearly pitched as a launch title, wasn't it, for PSVR 2?
Yeah, so at one point it was, of course. So, I mean, I think the important thing to note is that, as Myles and I have said, I think countless times, it's not Rush of Blood. It's never going to be Rush of Blood. It's not going to be as scary as Rush of Blood, and I don't think it's as well designed as Rush of Blood. However, if you liked Rush of Blood, I do think you're going to like Switchback now. It's just just kind of temper your expectations, know what you're getting into, and don't expect to be crazy scary. But I do think that this patch went a long way to fixing some of the issues. Content wise, I mean, I'd love it. Especially for the $40 price tag, I would love it if they delivered a couple more levels, right? Because all the levels have these branching paths, so you want to go back and you want to replay all the levels, and so that's how they get kind of like they artificially extend the game clock. But even then, if you do everything and see every single alternate path, you're not going to break more than a few hours on your game clock. So yes, it's about chasing high scores, but for me, it's more about the experience of seeing something new. And for $40, I would definitely appreciate it if they drop a little bit more content.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's fair. What was the last thing I was going to say about it? Rush of Blood. Everyone wants to see it come to PSVR 2.
Yes.
What I found surprising when Switchback came out was people were tweeting them, asking about it on Twitter. And it's something very easy. You just ignore it. They didn't ignore it. They said, we really appreciate the support. Do let Sony know.
Yeah.
It was the most obvious way of just saying we would happily do it, but it's not up to us. So I would just say to the community out there that they've even said it. Support this game if you can, but voice it to Sony. They wouldn't have said it unless they thought it did have some weight to it. So the power of speaking out on social media. I think the main difference between Rush of Blood and this, Brian, of why Rush of Blood is more enjoyable is Rush of Blood is just much more high adrenaline. It's more fast paced.
Yep.
It's a lot more claustrophobic. Generally, a lot of corridors. I mean, they do have elements of that on this, but I just feel like it's a lot more just fast paced. You get to the end of a level and you're like, I want to go again. That's what roller coasters make you feel, right? Because it was like, oh wow, that was I didn't even have time to think what I just experienced. I want to do it again. Whereas there's so much stop and start. It's definitely a bit more of a theatre piece. It's obviously more to do with the story and an experience. And I get it. I get it that offers something that will appeal to some people better. Mm-hmm. But that's why I think having Rush of Blood on PSVR 2 would be a great thing to complement it. Having both.
Yeah, I agree. Being able to play both on PSVR 2 would be awesome, especially since I've got my PSVR 1 hooked up now, and the part of me is like, oh, look, I can play all my PSVR 1 games again. Great, but dealing with light tracking, dealing with setting up the camera again, right. Dealing with things like the bug in Rush of Blood that doesn't allow you to really move too much without pausing the game accidentally.
Oh my goodness.
It's stuff that we shouldn't have to deal with. So hopefully that this will get addressed. Rush of Blood was a fantastic PSVR 1 game and make a fantastic PSVR 2 game. So anyway, man, we got to move on. It's time to move on to our final news story, and that is... I don't know if you were paying attention, Myles, but Monologic Games, developer of Ven VR Adventure, just announced just a couple days ago that they were bringing Ven VR Adventure to PSVR 2, which was strange, right? They'd promised it on PSVR 1, they didn't deliver on that, and then Monologic Games sort of went dark, and we didn't hear from them for a couple years. And so then 2 days ago, they said, hey, we're bringing Ven VR Adventure to PSVR 2. It's like, great. And they said, and also Friday morning, we're going to have another announcement for you. This game that we've been working on for the last 2 years. And as it turns out, it is nothing like Ven VR Adventure. It's called VRSO, Bare Knuckle Fighting. Do you mind if I read through this press release, Myles?
Let's do it. Let's go through this.
All right. We're pleased to announce our new game, VRSO, Bare Knuckle Fighting, that's coming to MetaQuest, PSVR 2, and Steam VR later this year. So another game, Myles, that we can put into the pile of 2023 sometime. The next 5 months are so packed unless shit gets pushed to 2024. But just add another title to the list. There's so many. VRSO stands for Virtual Reality Sport Organization. Our vision is to create the highest quality sports game based on the physics simulation for the virtual reality. The first sports project, we hope to pave the way for our future endeavors. Very interesting way of stating this. VRSO, Bare Knuckle Fighting. If you want to be up to date with this game's progress, join our newsletter via Discord, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to stop right there. It's very obvious that Monologic is saying, hey, VRSO is a platform. And bare knuckle fighting is one of the many things you're ultimately going to be able to do on this platform. They'll keep developing different sports for VRSO, and bare knuckle fighting is the first one to happen. And I love this idea. I hope it all becomes part of the same game, right? So it becomes like this hub world where you go in and you're like, oh, it's the VRSO. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to do some bare knuckle fighting, or do you want to golf?
What, hit each other with golf clubs?
I mean, sure, why not?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because at first glance, I was like, "Is this like a UFC game?" But it just seems like no, it's going to be a virtual reality sport. You know, bare knuckles. I mean, I'm really up for this. It's going to be curious to know what kind of game is it. Is it going to be super arcadey, or is it going to be more simulation that works up a real sweat? I assume it's going to be the latter from the artwork that I've seen. But yeah, I mean, I'm really, really interested in this. Well, as someone who's not much of a fighter in real life.
I'm glad you. I don't believe that for a second. I'm glad you asked, because we got more information here.
Whoa!
The game is set in a world of existing abandoned locations, thanks to photogrammetry technology, something we haven't heard of since Puzzling Places. And if they can make the arenas look as good as Puzzling Places puzzles, then I'm all for it. It's based on the concept of a tournament with a backstory where the player will have to beat 16 players to become the champion of the VRSO League. Each opponent
all at the same time. At the same time.
It's Pit Fighter. Just bring them all on. Each opponent has different skills. Well, I mean, that would immediately make it more fun than Creed Rise to Glory Championship Edition. 15, yeah.
Battle Royale, just in a ring.
Right.
It's actually a regular boxing ring. Like, there's no space. Everyone's just like...
Oh, man. I think you could pick up chairs and shit and just like beat people over the head with it. Each opponent has different skills and fighting styles, and thus poses a different level of difficulty. They go into single player here before anything else, and I know there's a lot of you out there who immediately will shut down a game if it doesn't have a single player campaign. So listen up. A lot of emphasis is placed on the training mode, where the player is able to configure their opponent. This is an extremely useful option also for professionals who will be able to decide how offensive or defensive the opponent is, and set all the parameters of the opponent's other features and behaviors: reflexes, speed, stamina, character, and other. All animations have been created using motion capture technology in cooperation with professional fighters. As a result, our in-game opponents have the necessary fighting skills, such as offensive and defensive movement, distraction, dodging, blocks, pivots, fades, attacks, combos, etc. Myles, they talked a lot about single player, but what it comes down to is it seems like single player is a training mode.
I know, it does feel like that, because I do like having customization, but sometimes you want to just have an actual campaign where it's like they've thought about what the enemies are and how it builds you up, as opposed to that. But looks kind of interesting, and the customization would be cool. Hope you can do lots of customization, like make them have a really massive head. I'd like that. Just have some really ridiculous footage of just some really weird fights. I'll be all for it, but no, doesn't seem what they're going for there. But yeah, like changing the reflex speed, that will be good for training you up. But yeah, it says a lot. They say a lot of emphasis placed on the training mode. Yeah. They start it by where they want to put the emphasis.
Right.
Which
it would be really sad if we get this game and it's all based around a tournament that you need real players to play in. It would be really fun to be able to play through that tournament single player against AI. But
yeah, agreed.
Let's see what they say about multiplayer. In addition to the single player campaign, which they're calling a single player campaign, so it's probably exactly what we just described. You can probably play through the whole thing by yourself. The game features an advanced multiplayer mode where players can compete according to their rank, as well as directly with fellow gamers. The game features an extensive system of ranks, experience, and currency, which the player can use to customize and develop their character in terms of appearance only. So
there needs to be cross-play. Right?
It's a good question.
To have a big enough pool of players.
Yeah.
Because if they're saying it's ranked, this is what happens. Like this happened with Knock, a game I absolutely love. Is as soon as you get put in competitive, you were put up against people that have been playing it for 3 years and absolutely destroy you instantly, because that was just the pool of players. So, this would definitely, I feel, need cross-play. But, I mean, what they've described, I think, is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, cross-play is great. until you have to play against racist 7-year-olds.
Yeah, but then you can beat the shit out of them, Brian.
You know what? I take it back. I'm super excited to play against racist 7-year-olds.
Ever wanted to punch a Nazi? Here we go.
Nice. And so that's all we have for right now. As you guys can see, there's a very, very limited amount of. That's not what we wanted to see. We were looking for this right here. Very limited amount of screenshots. No video footage yet. Everything we've seen looks like it's been captured on Quest 2. So the rings look really nice. They're kind of showing off the photogrammetry here. And just, I don't know. Until we see it in motion, until we see these animations, I won't really know how I feel about this. But, these guys have been working hard for the last 2 years, and hopefully it all pays off. Really, I think this is a game that will appeal to a lot of people, Myles.
The chat confirmed Myles punches racist children.
Now, trying the game Feline says, yes, beating up kids and not getting arrested sounds fantastic. Nice. A lot of blood though in this game. It looks can get pretty gory. Yeah, one of the pictures actually says, is stated gore system. Actually, this one right here, and so you can see you got bloody nose, bloody eyes, bloody mouth. So they've spent a lot of time doing that for sure. Yeah. Kiddo093 says online trash talking is the best. Brian is not a multiplayer guy. Clearly, no. I just have I have respect for other people. Is the problem? If you go online and you call people racist or homophobic or any kind of phobic words that you don't know, trash talking is fun with friends, right? It's not. Yeah. It's not fun with strangers. Agreed. It's super disrespectful, and I say, grow the fuck up. Sorry, Kato, you're wrong. Dude. So that is that, and it's time to play a little bit of 20 questions before we're here all night. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. This is going to be a good one. I picked out a really good one for you, Myles. I've been ready for it.
It's going to be terrible. It's terrible.
Yep. Well, you guys don't know how this works. You guys out in the chat, help Myles out. You guys have 20 yes or no questions in only 6 minutes to figure out what PSVR 1 or PSVR 2 game I'm thinking of. There it is. On your mark. Get Des. Go.
Is it on PSVR 2?
Yes.
Is it only on PSVR 2? As in, it's not on PSVR 1?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Did we talk about it on the show today?
Yes.
Okay. We did talk about a lot of games, though, on the show today. Is it a sports game?
Yes.
Did it recently have a DLC?
Yes.
Yep. Did it take place on a spy base?
Yes.
Cool. And do you swing a stick in it?
Yes.
Yeah, you do swing a stick in it. Okay. Any suggestions yet? We've got Switchback, we've got Alvo, we've got yeah. Is it Walkabout mini golf, Ryan?
With only 8 questions, yes, it is Walkabout mini golf. Here's the great thing about this is I didn't pick a game, Myles.
Oh, that's fair.
I said what?
You panicked.
Nope. I said what game will Myles? What is the default game Myles will come to if I answer yes to every question that he asks? And so Walkabout mini golf is your default answer for 20 questions.
Is that true?
Yep.
That's amazing.
So
there
was no way you were going to lose.
Yeah.
But you got it.
That's awesome. I kind of wish I'd asked. I wish I'd asked some stupid questions now, like
right.
Does it involve making fart noises on the microphone?
Yes.
Walkabout mini golf. There we go. Cool.
All right.
Let's see what your game next week is then.
All right, guys. Don't forget, go subscribe to Myles over at youtube.com/Myles so you can get in on some of these live streams that he's been doing non-stop. You've got a lot to catch up on if you haven't been watching, and a lot to look forward to if you haven't subscribed yet. So Myles, keep up the good work over there, man. Love it.
Thank you.
I don't really live stream over here anymore. And
that's cool, but
you've got that covered.
Well, this is what I mean. We're sort of, and this is one of the reasons I sort of lent into it is like you do the more thought out pieces. You go away, you review it in your own time, which takes, because I often get people in the chat ask me during the Let's Plays, what score would you give it? What one was it last week? Oh, it was Operation Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, like, I think an hour in, how much would you give it out of 10? And I said, firstly, I don't really like giving scores on Let's Plays, but also it would be unfair to give it until I've completed the game. And then 30 minutes later,
little did you know.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And actually on the Operation Wolf, just quickly, completed it in 90 minutes. I did it on hard mode after Brian's recommendations, S ranked everything. Bit tricky on a couple of bosses. But actually, I actually really enjoyed it. But they just missed the mark on a lot of things. Like, it's all about getting high scores. There's no leaderboard. No leaderboards. There's no way of seeing how much you've scored afterwards. And on the main menu, there's a pile of cups stacked up with targets on them, so you can shoot it with your gun, but it doesn't interact. So when you see stuff like that, you just like, I don't know. There's certain things that happen with games where you feel like, not that they didn't care, but like, just like it's VR. Like, really make the most of it. But I did enjoy the game, but it's not one I'd play again. Just for that reason.
They had so many opportunities just to make it more fun and more interesting, and like simple things like leaderboards. Absolutely would have given it some replayability. If I finished and said, oh, I see my friends on the leaderboards and they got 200 more points than me, I was like, fuck it, I can get 200 more points. Let me go back and try that again. But no, they kind of ignored this huge area that would have extended the game clock by 5 or 6 times. We could have gotten 20 hours out of this thing if they just added the leaderboards. And you're right. I think little touches, like if you're in a menu and you've got a gun, put a gun in the menu, right? And there's an Operation Wolf arcade machine that you can't play. Yeah. I mean, torture. It's almost like they had a bunch of ideas and said, oh, we're going to let you shoot all this stuff up off the table. We're going to let you go over there and play the Operation Wolf, like classic arcade game. And then they like ran out of time or money or something. And they said, well, we have to push this thing out. We don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of the biggest feedback I heard was a lot of people saying, oh, this game or this game. I mean, dude, Time Crisis. If someone got the rights to Time Crisis and put Time Crisis 1 or 2 on PSVR2, I think that'd be massive.
Amazing. Those are Time Crisis 2 and 3 are two of my favorite light gun shooters of all time. I say that, but then I'm immediately like, oh, but Endgame was really cool on PS2. Oh, also House of the Dead, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, I've got so many favorite light gun shooters. It's not even funny.
One last thing, Brian, sorry, someone in the chat was asking, are there going to be game codes? The thing about my Let's Plays is there are game codes often given out, but it's all about the devs. Often the devs come to the chat and they answer questions and stuff. And I always speak to them and say, whether you want to hide in the background and just watch and see people's feedback, engage in the chat, or give away game keys, always welcome. So it's always on them. There was a lot of generosity. 17-bit gave away a collection of Song in the Smoke ones last week. Nice. Cloudhead Games gave away a Pistol Whip one. Oh, dude, playing Pistol Whip again, I was just like, it's a game I've always wished I'd go back to, but playing the full campaigns again, just like, it's so good. It's so good. But this is why we do it. And it's why it's good that a lot of PSVR games have come to PSVR2, because there's a lot of great games, and it's great to be able to experience it with all the new features. So,
yeah, the thunder just kicked in over here. It's
oh, did it?
Yeah. So
how has the weather been there? Is it been really bad?
It's I mean, we've had some hot days for sure, but for the most part, it's been like kind of like overcast and rainy and cool. And the hot days have sucked, but today has just been pretty chill all day, which is nice. And here come the storms. Peter, the Underground Game Cat on Parole, the $5 tips, has just noticed that the Robin behind you, Brian, has the same bangs. Nice.
Awesome.
He's not kidding. It's true. Never would have noticed it myself, but good looking out, Peter, the Underground Game Cat. I aspire to be Robin. This is so weird. Actually, has weird Cabbage Patch doll features. I just watched. I've been watching like whatever is it Travel Channel, History Channel, whatever that has the 80s documentaries going on right now, and there's a whole special about Cabbage Patch Kids and like how the woman that started the whole thing, and then like this dude who stole the design from her and like mass manufactured it, and the whole thing. It's crazy. It's good stuff. So maybe someone in the chat knows what I'm talking about. I don't remember the name of anything, but it was really fun to watch. Guys, we're going to get out of here before the storm rolls in and eventually cuts off my power. We'll have to pick this up in 7 hours just to say goodbye to you guys. So let's do that now instead. Guys, thank you all very much for hanging out with us. Again, make sure you subscribe to Myles, join our Discord. All those links are in the description below. Come join us for the D-Day Enhanced Beta. As long as you're not a racist child, then we'll probably let you in. But just go to the D-Day Enhanced channel and ask for a key. And I'm sure Rypop works around the clock taking care of you guys. And just be patient. Also, do him a favor and leave what region you're in. And if you don't know what region you're in, just tell him like roughly where you live in the world, and he should be able to figure it out for you. Thank you everybody who supports this channel financially, everybody who is a member here on YouTube, and of course over on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. Thank you to everybody who tips during the show, everybody who hangs out, helps with 20 questions, joins in on the conversation, and everybody who sits back and watches the show doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there and we love you just as much. Happy Friday, Myles.
Happy Friday, Brian. Happy Friday, Game Cats. Stay safe. Have a good weekend.
Twitcher, the single player game cat in the chat says, remember Garbage Pail Kids? Yeah, actually they talk about that too. And they actually got sued by Cabbage Patch Kids. And ultimately had to change the later designs in the series to make them not look like Cabbage Patch Kids. But then that ruined everything because Cabbage Patch Kids look so goddamn fucking innocent. And so when you have one like Atom Bomb with the head blowing up, it's a wildly different experience. Silver Nexus in the chat. Did you have Garbage Pail Kids in the UK, Myles? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm gonna have to look them up.
Yeah.
But
they're just trading cards.
I don't know if Cabbage Patch Kids came to the UK because I always knew it from America. It might be just America only thing. But yeah.
Yeah, Cabbage Patch Kids. I mean, Garbage Pail Kids were like all the rage when I was a kid. Like it was just cards that you bought and came with gum, and they were just making fun of Cabbage Patch Kids and really mutilating them in all sorts of crazy ways. But they still looked adorable. Silver Nexus with the level 3 membership says, take care, be safe, and try to be merry, Game Cats. We will. But before we go, we have what is probably going to be known as one of the coolest, but also one of the longest clips of the week. You ready? You going to cue this up and start at the same time as me, Myles? So
let's do it.
All right. This comes to us from 4D, the Game Cat. By the way, if you don't want anything in the new Walkabout DLC spoiled for you, you should tune out now. Here we go. Go.
Cool.
Yeah, usually the 18th
but
hole is some kind of like epic thing, and that, I mean, that was a very cool way to end the hole, and I love the robot and everything. That kind of goes along with finishing the 18th hole, but
very impressive, impressive. But you now have to do that for every single course.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, 40. We appreciate you submitting that and taking all the time. I don't think anyone has put nearly as much work into their clips of the week as he did for that, but keep them coming. I did see in the clips of the week channel that there were some other awesome submissions. And so just because we didn't use yours already doesn't mean we won't use it next time. I've been trying like crazy to remember to do clip of the week fucking 3 times a week, right? Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because we have been getting enough submissions, but I don't always remember. So and everybody in the chat from the UK says you did in fact have Cabbage Patch Kids.
We did. Okay, there we go.
And now you know you can sleep well.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Guys, we'll see you over on Discord. We love you all. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.
Bye.